automotive show out of my living room. And now we're in the 4Runner that I bought about 9 months ago. And it's really comfy in here. And we're going to spend some time in this episode just talking about things we've done with it, what we do and don't like about it, and that's about it. There's a very short list of things I don't really like about it. Obviously, it's an older vehicle and it consumes quite a bit of fuel. Get out of the way, Fiesta. We're trying to see an SLS. Infinite cool. This is how you spend a lot of money in a really classy way.
Kind of like church.
But with fried food.
Yeah, everything is blessed. Chick-fil-A.
No, literally this is like the first time in like Cane's opened like 3 months ago, and we haven't been to Chick-fil-A since Cane's opened. It doesn't look all that bad from this far away. It's like, yeah, it's just like the closer you get, like you start to realize it's like not super mint. You know, the closer from here, it looks great, you know, Craigslist worthy. And then, oh, that's not good. That's not good. It's not good. Yeah. That's not good. That's not good. Whenever you're ready, just tell me go.
Oh.
Today I'm going to give you an update on my 1999 4Runner that I got for $3,000. And just some advice I would give to anybody who's planning on doing the same thing or finds a 4Runner around a $3,000 price range.
Shoddy.
Gotta love that green hood, which is not black. This is what you get for $3,000. Start her up. 4Runners, the real OnlyFans. Get it? Because it's all fan noise. So let's go ahead and take a look at everything that's been replaced and needed to be replaced. Once you get under here, it looks relatively clean. A lot of things have been replaced. Upper and lower radiator hoses. Thermostat has been replaced. We got a new radiator in here because the old one was just leaking and not doing us too good. I got new vacuum hoses pretty much here and here. I broke the fuel rail while trying to replace the coolant temperature sensor. And all these videos are on YouTube, and now it's running a lot quieter than it was before. There's also an idler pulley down there at the bottom. If your 4Runner is making like just a whining supercharger or like a power steering pump pulley noise, chances are it's actually the idler pulley. So if your 4Runner is making lots of weird noises and you're not quite sure what it could be, go ahead and check the idler pulley first before you go and start replacing random stuff. This intake boot right here next to the throttle body had to be replaced. This one was a big one. If your truck is idling super duper high, when I started this one up, it was idling around 1400 RPM, which was like way too much gas. So the idle air control valve, you can see it kind of back there. I'm kind of tickling it right now. Had to replace that to get it to go back down. So there's just a lot of stuff in here. If you don't have like a toolkit, or if you don't have, you know, anything that's like, if you're not mechanically inclined, not that any of this is very complicated, but just expect that if you're going to buy a super high mileage 4Runner, that you're going to have to spend some time working on stuff like this. And that's just the reality of it. I'd say all in, I'm probably about $3,800 into this vehicle, with, you know, purchasing it, keeping it maintained. And so we just have a little bit further to go as far as cosmetics. Like as I saw earlier on the video, this fender is not doing so hot and it needs that to connect. I got the headlight trim below, but it needs something to connect to, so this has to be replaced and repainted. And there's just a few other things that need to be done to get this thing, you know, look absolutely cherry. You know, the green hood isn't absolutely where I'd like it to be, so a black hood and a black fender, and I think we'll be doing a little bit better. But otherwise, for 247,000 miles, it's super duper quiet, super duper comfortable. And next up, we're looking at suspension. So like I said in the previous video, I bought this thing for $3,000 and it had around 244 to 245,000 miles. It now has 247,840, and I mean, it's just been really enjoyable overall. But like I said before, this isn't a vehicle, or any 90s vehicle is not something you should buy unless you're a little bit mechanically inclined and you're ready to get your hands dirty. There's been a little bit of cussing with this vehicle. It's been like a little bit of swearing, kind of getting it to run properly and, you know, where it is. I think it's a great, you know, learner vehicle if you think you're ready to start like working on cars and pulling them apart yourself. But I definitely would not recommend buying one of these 3rd gen 4Runners if you're not prepared to, you know, at least get your hands dirty and work on it yourself. So the reason I bought the 4Runner in the first place was because I was running a bar and it was not in the best area, and so I figured it would be better to drive, you know, something that's a little bit beat up, a little bit like inconspicuous to work versus my Miata, which is a little bit flashy, a little bit in your face. Put miles on something that's not the Miata and is a little bit more comfortable day to day, maybe isn't manual transmission. Starting with the mechanical stuff, I wanted to do engine mounts, I wanted to do the transmission mount, and just really make it run more smoothly. After that, my mom messed with the mirror in the garage. It was broken and green if you watched the previous video. And so I replaced it with this Chinese, you know, super boring black mirror, and if you look over here, it vibrates a whole bunch even when you're not going that quickly. But that was one of the next things. Next I did like oil, you know, change and an oil O-ring kit, just to make sure the vehicle wasn't leaking. That was the only oil leak that was happening whenever I got the car. A pretty, you know, consistent oil leak. Every time you would stop somewhere or whenever you would park to put it in the garage, it would drip on the floor. So I mean, if your 4Runner is leaking on the floor, just like a little bit of oil, but it's not that much, I would check, you know, valve cover gaskets and also check the O-ring gaskets just to make sure they're not leaking and doing anything weird. After that, I left it for a couple months just to sit in my garage because I was driving the Miata a lot more and just didn't have a reason. I wasn't really driving this thing that much. So I ended up having to replace the radiator just because it was leaking, and it actually overheated on me. It got so low that it overheated while I was moving some stuff from our old place to our new place. So we replaced the radiator, replaced all the hoses, the thermostat, and that was the whole thing. But definitely necessary. Now our coolant temps stay super duper low, and it's really quiet now. When we got this before, it was making like a really whining, bad noise. But that was the idler pulley, which those are like 20 bucks. And each one of these parts, they're usually between like 20, 30, 40 bucks. It's nothing that's been like break the bank expensive. And that's really what I like about these 4Runners. Nothing's ridiculously expensive. They're very accessible as long as you're willing to work on them. After that, just made sure that the fuel system was working properly. I accidentally broke the fuel rail while replacing the coolant temp sensor because the coolant temp sensor sits right below it. And when I replaced that, broke the fuel rail, and while I was in there, made sure the O-rings were all good and tightened up. And the O-rings were actually on the verge of failing, so I'm really glad in the long run that I ended up, you know, breaking and replacing everything. Just with these older trucks, one thing after another, it's kind of like chasing what's going to go wrong next, just because everything's 20 years old now. It's very quiet. AC blows super cold. It's very relaxing in here. It drives like an old Lexus, and I really like the 4Runners in this era. They just feel very comfortable. It's like you're on a rolling couch. Like, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend buying one if you're just looking for like a chill, like not fast vehicle. The 4Runner doesn't really encourage you to speed or go fast. It's just like you'll get there when you get there, you know, have a nice time getting there, and just like, ooh, check out this Land Rover.
Cute.
And keep it super relaxed. You know, this thing probably wouldn't exist without that thing, honestly. What do you like about the 4Runner?
I like that you like to work on it, and I like that it's really bouncy, and it's really casual and chill. It's not flashy, and it's kind of like a beach car,
Right.
and that's about it.